second speech to the group. You will now have the opportunity to share in his misery, his pain, his anguish of what it is to be a Mets fan. Hope you enjoy. Please welcome Gary Smith.
Okay, I hope my speech is demulsive for you guys this morning. Madam Toastmaster, fellow members and guests, I have to be real honest with you guys this morning. It ain't easy being a Met fan. I've been a fan of the game of baseball my entire life, and for some reason, unbeknownst to me, I've rooted for those Mets for the same amount of time. Now you may be asking yourself, why would I support a team that's not so easy to root for? And I'll tell you. Growing up in New York, you had two teams to root for. You had New York Mets and the New York Yankees. Okay? Now the way you get to choose which one to support isn't your decision at all. It's ingrained to you from the moment of birth by your well-intentioned father to get you to follow in his footsteps to be the fan of, said teams. I was the lucky one to be born to a die-hard Mets fan. This was great because as a young boy in the mid to late 80s, thank you, the Mets ran New York baseball and the Yankees were the butt of every baseball joke during that era. But alas, nothing lasts forever, and the Mets have broken my heart many times over the years, and I would like to share some of those heartbreaks with you this morning. The 1990s were very lean years for the Mets, and there wasn't much hope for postseason baseball during that time. They had some likable players, but were never able to put it together to make a serious run for a World Series title. That was until the end of the decade in the year 1999. That was the year we had all the pieces in place to take over the hated rival Braves and put an end to their division run. We made a huge trade and acquired the best hitting catcher to anchor our lineup. We also added some guys through free agency to help make up arguably the best defensive infield in baseball history. Unfortunately, we did not take the division that year, but we still made the playoffs in dramatic fashion by beating the Cincinnati Reds in a playoff game. They were able to advance to the National League Championship Series against those hated Braves, and in true Met fashion, lost the series in the most excruciating way possible. Let me set the stage for you. It's Game 6, Braves lead the series 3-2. And in just the previous game, to stave off elimination, the Mets won the game in 15 innings on a play that was later to be known as a Grand Slam single. The reason because our guy hit a home run with the bases loaded. But his teammates were so excited that they mobbed him before he even got to second base. Now back to Game 6. The Braves jump out to a 5-0 lead, and the Mets are able to somehow come back and give us that false hope. Because in the bottom of the 11th, with the score tied 9-9, the Braves load the bases. The Mets bring in a lefty pitcher to face the Braves lefty hitter because that's what percentages tell you to do. And wouldn't you know it, the pitcher walks in the winning run, crushing any hopes the Mets have of reaching the World Series that year. The next heartbreak that the Mets put me through was in the year 2006. I had just moved back to New York from Florida after 6 years, and I now have the ability to watch all 162 Met games. We're stolen by wife, by the way. As it turns out, the Mets had one of their best seasons of all time and were winning games at an alarming rate. They had a good blend of veteran talent along with some rising stars. They finally won a division and put an end to that awful Brave streak. They went into the postseason that year as the odds-on favorites to make it out of the National League and into the World Series. But some things are just too good to be true. Our best pitcher strains his calf and is out for the whole playoffs. Then so does another starting pitcher. Somehow, though, we make it to the NLCS and face the St. Louis Cardinals. It goes all the way to the final Game 7. The game is a thrilling one, which includes an amazing catch made by our left fielder that robs a home run from the St. Louis Cardinals batter. Now, when a play like that is made, it is usually a good sign of good things to come. Usually. Because in the bottom of the ninth, with the Mets down 3-1, our best hitter comes at the plate with the bases loaded. And wouldn't you know it, with a count of 3 balls and 2 strikes, the pitcher snaps off a curveball that would have fooled Babe Ruth. And the batter is left standing there, with the bat on his shoulders, having watched the last pitch of the season go by without even getting a chance to swing. The last heartbreaking Mets story I would like to share with you happened the following year, 2007. They don't even give you a chance to breathe. The Mets were favorites again to win the division and make it to the World Series because we had a lot of returning players from the previous year, and we were only 1 strike away. So how far could we really fall? Well, surprisingly, we didn't. The young players continued to develop, became more focal points of the team, and older players on the team continued with their steady play for most of the year. I say most of the year because it all unraveled and when the calendar hit September. That's because the Mets endured one of the worst collapses in baseball history. On September 12th, with 17 games to go, the Mets held a 7-game edge over the Philadelphia Phillies, an insurmountable lead. Not so much for the Mets, though. They proceed to lose the following 11 of 16 games, but amazingly enough, still have a chance to make it to the playoffs on the last day of the season. All they have to do is win that game and they're in. This seemed easy enough. We had one of our best pitchers on the mound, in our home stadium, against the last place Florida Marlins. Oh, if only things were so easy. Our pitcher gets beat up for 7 runs in the top of the first inning before the Mets even get a chance to hit. And the game is over as quickly as it began. They go on to lose that game 8-1 and haven't even had a sniff of the postseason since. So I leave you with this. Why would anyone want to be a Met fan? And the answer is this. We hold on to that belief that one day the Mets will hoist that trophy above their heads and we will get to rejoice in that thrill of victory. And all that suffering and heartache that they put us through over the years will be well worth it. Because it has to. Otherwise, why would we put ourselves through that? And remember, sports fans, there's always next year.